Hey y'all, this is Crystal with the Book Bar. Welcome back to the Book Alert, where we read them and spoil them. So this week we are going to be talking about You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. This one right here is by Akwaeke Emezi, and this author is an amazing author. They have written in several different genres, and if you have not gotten a chance to check out their work, I highly recommend it. But this one right here, you know why I chose this one? Because I feel like there is this conversation going on around this book about whether or not people love it or hate it, and I feel like it can go either way. I'm on the love side because I am a firm believer in love doesn't look the same way. It's not always cookie cutter and clean. With that being said, if you know anything about me, you also know that I dislike romance novels. This is a romance novel though, and I loved it. And I think it was the messiness of it, the rawness of it. So let's get into it. Faye is the main character in this book, and Faye has gone through a period of grief. She has been grieving her deceased husband for the last 5 years. He died in a car accident. They were together in this car accident. She survived. He did not. So she has been grieving for the last 5 years. Fast forward to these 5 years, and she and her best friend are getting prepared to go out. Her best friend's name is Joy. Now, first of all, let's talk a little bit about Joy. Joy is the best friend we all need. Some of us have. I know I have, but everyone does not. And I feel like everyone needs a best friend like Joy. Joy is that ratchet best friend that's going to tell you what it is with like zero F's given, okay? She is definitely not going to sugarcoat for you. And so Joy one day was like, listen, sis, I know you've been grieving. I know it's been some things. I know you're trying to work through this, but it is death time to dust those cobwebs and jump on back out there. And Faye was like, you know what? All right, bet. We about to do that. We about to dust these cobwebs. We about to get out there. And she did. She did, okay? She wasted no time. Faye and Joy go out and they meet. They go out to this party, and while at this party, Faye meets this guy named Milan. And she dusted those cobwebs at said party with Milan. Now, this is where the messiness comes in. This is where the messiness, I guess I should say, begins. This is where I feel like a lot of people fell off on this book because they were like, wait a minute, you just met him. There was zero protection involved. Now, obviously, protection needs to be involved when you're meeting people. Like, that should not have to be stated. Protection is very important. I'm also a firm believer in consensual adult relationships. And so as two consenting adults, if they choose not to, that is their business. This is why everyone needs to go out and get tested. But two consenting adults decide they want to go in and do this without protection. That's their business. Has nothing to do with me. Get tested. Okay. That's why we should all get tested. But they decided not to use protection for whatever reason. And so the messiness begins. But Faye's out there, you know, she grieving the loss of her husband. What she is essentially doing is saying, I want to get out here and I want to find these relationships, but I don't want to be tied to anyone. And so though she dated Milan for about 2 weeks, she decided this wasn't it, okay? This is just not enough. Something is missing. I don't know what. Joy is sitting there like, well, wait a minute. I thought everything was good. You had him up in the bathroom doing all the things, and now he's not enough. What's the problem? Faye was like, I'm not sure. I believe it was later on she also meets, or at the same party. I don't know. I read this a long time ago. Either later on at a different party or at the same party, she meets Milan's friend Nasir, and her and Nasir move on to continuing to dust those cobwebs. I think at this point, cobwebs are well and dusted. They are gone. They are no longer in existence while she's with Nasir. But again, messiness continues because there's this debate on whether or not she's just out here running around with dudes, whether or not she is just out here leading people on, whatever. And so this is where the debate comes in. I am a firm believer in bodily autonomy. If you as a grown adult meets another grown adult and everyone is being honest, not liars. No liars out here. You can't be leading people on and causing people to feel things when you knew good and hell well you ain't want to be with them. But if everyone is being honest, which she was, Faye was very honest and saying, I don't want no strings attached. This is just kind of, we're having fun. I'm not ready for any relationship. This is where we are right now. So she was being honest. Nasir, I guess, decided he wanted more. And so, excuse me. Whew, try it again. And so, in his decision that he wants to be honest with her, he wants more. She's been very clear she does not. But again, bodily autonomy. She said, this is what I want right now. This is what I'm okay with right now. He was like, I have got to sneeze. Okay, no, I don't. Where was I? All right, so back to, bodily autonomy. So when it comes to bodily autonomy, we have the right to say, this is what we want, this is what we don't want, this is what I choose to do with my body. You can choose to do what you want with your body. I'm giving consent or I'm not giving consent. That's just kind of what it is. Y'all need to learn what consent is and what consent is not. Bodily autonomy is a thing. If this grown adult decides she wants to go out and do the things with other consenting adults, consent being the operative word. She wants to do all these things with other consenting adults. She has the right. I think there's too much shame involved in what consenting adults do, and it's baffling to me because if it has no impact on anyone else's life, why do people care? Like, why are you upset because this consenting adult got with another consenting adult and they're both single? No one's cheating on anyone. They're both single and deciding to do things. Everyone's like, oh my God, she's so messy. She's an adult. She's grown. She can do what she wants. Child, folks be mad because they not getting any. Go out and get you your own. So she gets with Nasir. They're having fun living life, but she's honest the entire time that she is not ready for anything more than that. Faye is an artist, and Nasir, I can't remember where he's from, what country he's from. But anyways, his dad is this big time chef. Apparently has a couple of Michelin stars, whatever that means. I just don't care enough. If the food is good, great. If it's not, But he's got these Michelin stars, which apparently means something with restaurants. Don't know, don't care. But Faye doesn't know this. She's a fan of this chef. She's a fan of his dad. So his dad and whomever else are putting on, I guess, an art gallery, art show, whatever, with someone famous. And Nasir, being the friend that he is, or maybe he's trying to convince her to be with him, don't know, also don't care, decides to help get her into this showing. So she gets chosen to be in the showing. They fly over to this country, and on the way, that's when Nasir drops the bomb of, hey, my dad's this big famous chef. She fangirls for a minute, but gets it together. Gets there to the country, they're staying with Nasir's dad. In comes more messiness because in meeting Nasir's dad, Faye has this like immediate crush on Nasir's dad. Now here's where I kind of am understanding when people are like, that is hella messy. Like that is hella messy. Cause you're sleeping with the son, but crushing on the dad? Sis. Like, sis. But again, I don't have no monkey in this race, so let's keep going. They are there. She's trying. So I gotta give her a little bit of credit because she's definitely trying to fight the attraction. She doesn't. I don't know how else to say it. She doesn't fight the attraction. She does try. She tries it for some time. But there's like a mutual attraction because in some way, shape, or form, Nasir's dad, and his name is Aleem. So Aleem, he kind of reciprocates that crush, but also is trying to fight it because he is well aware that she's sleeping with his son. So he's trying to fight it. So it gets messy, but I think that's why I liked it so much. And y'all don't judge me because I'm not a messy person. My relationships don't look like that, but I don't judge nobody else's relationship. This is like a whole soap opera for me. Like, what? You sleeping with who and you like who? So for me, I chuckled. That was hilarious for me. I think that's really the part of the book where a lot of people were just like, absolutely not. What is this girl doing? Why is she doing this? Like, this is messy. I want no parts. And that's when they DNF. Did not finish. For me, I'm more so like, I mean, you liked it. It ain't got nothing to do with me. this, like, what they choose to do has zero impact. Even if this is a real, like, if this were real life, this is a fictional book. So for me, I don't know why people are so mad, but whatever. But even if this was in real life, like, it has no impact on me. I don't care what you do. It literally plays no role in my life. So go off, be happy. But the other piece of this is this book, I also think, shows one person's journey through their grief. Because she tried with Milan, and then she tried with Nasir. And even before meeting Nasir's dad, like, she also was just kind of like, man, he's been helping me out. He's doing all the right things. I don't know why I feel like something is missing. And I feel like there's been people that are in relationships like that, where they feel like the person that they're with, guy, girl, doesn't matter. The person that they're with is doing everything right, but even in doing everything right, they still feel like, but there's just something missing. I don't know what it is, what connection, what piece, whatever is missing. And so they pull back from that person. And that's what she was doing. But she was also being honest and saying, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for anything now. Well, she met Aline, and her lady parts were like, we were saying we weren't ready, but there's more to it than that. But even beyond that, I think she and Aleem had a different and deeper connection, because Aleem also lost someone. He also had been grieving the loss of his wife, Nasir's dad. Nasir also has a sister, don't remember her name, but he had been grieving that loss as well. And I think that is like a way in which they connected. And it wasn't like trauma bonding. It wasn't as though like, oh, we've all been through trauma and we're, it's this trauma that keeps us together. Not that kind of a connection, but a connection. And we've both had this experience that not many people, like, I guess in their circle, understand. Like, you can say you understand, but unless you have lost a spouse, do you really understand? It's like when you lose anyone, when someone's like, oh, I get it. Well, but do you really? Have you experienced this type of loss before? Yes, you've experienced loss, but that loss and this loss, they're not the same. We can't equivocate. So do you really understand it? And so to find someone else who has been through it, understands still loving that person, but also caring for other people, I think that's a unique type of bond that they had. And so fast forward, for whatever reason, Nasir had to leave. I don't know if it was work related or something. He had to leave, but because the show that Faye's work was in had done so significantly well, she was asked to create a custom piece. And so she stayed a little longer, and she stayed at the house with Aleem. We already know what happened there. So she stayed at the house with Aleem, and feelings grew. And they got even closer. And closer, it was intimacy, but was intimacy even without sex. And I think that is important to note, because one, people have this weird belief that intimacy is only sex, and it is not. There are a lot of things that play a role in intimacy that is not just a sexual relationship. So they became a lot closer in regards to their intimacy without the sexual relationship. Eventually the sexual relationship came in, but it made it that much more special for them, I guess is a better way of putting it. And I think that is also important to note. Well, Nasir found out, and the shit hit the fan. Literally. So Nasir comes in blazing. Aleem was off on some hike or run or something. Nasir comes in essentially wanting to set shit on fire. He comes in the house and proceeds to practically drag her out the house. He didn't physically put his hands on her, but he definitely like grabbed her belongings, threw stuff everywhere, was throwing her crap all over the place, and she's like crying, and dad comes in storming in the house, and he like gets Nasir right, like, listen, I understand you're upset, you have every right to be mad, but I didn't raise you this way. What you won't do is have her cowering in the corner like you about to put your hands on her, like she's over here in tears and terrified of you. No amount of anger justifies the level of aggression that you're showing toward her, and the way in which you're acting. So that happened. He called her all kinds of names and everything. Like, it was a scene. And I was like, oh man, poor Nasir. Flip side of that is, I mean, she was honest. She said she didn't want to be with him. I'm not before y'all come for me, I am not saying it is okay to be with his dad. Like, that is not what I'm saying. But I'm also of the firm belief that way too many people stay in relationships they do not want to be in, or choose relationships they do not want to be in, simply because of the way in which society will view them, or the people around their social circle will view them. And at the end of the day, the question that I think people need to ask themselves is like, are you willing to forego your happiness to make other people happy? Because does that really make sense? Are you willing to forego what could be something beautiful in effort to make everyone else feel comfortable? Society is way too focused on everybody else's comfortability, and I feel like we need to stop. As long as it does not physically harm someone else, I'm just not understanding. Yes, Nasir's a big boy. He's an adult, okay? He's an adult. He's not going to like her as, stepmom if she becomes stepmom, but they're not even there yet. Like, they're just dating. Could the relationship end? Yes, but she and Nasir were also only talking for what? Like a couple of months? Like, it's not like they've been together for years and then she was like, oh, I'm with your dad now. Like, that's not what happened. Again, not excusing it. I mean, I know if I were in that position, I probably would feel away about it, but it's a fictional novel. So in this fictional novel, I was cheering and rooting for Faye and Aleem. Call me messy, don't really care. But that's kind of what I was doing. And I think that when people go back and forth on whether or not they like it or not, I think that's the piece that kind of does it for a lot of people. Like, wait a minute, you chose his dad? Like, nah, I don't like this book no more. For me, that ain't it. For me, I'm like, well, I can choose to see it that way, or I can choose to see they found something beautiful in a world where they felt alone. And I think that that's important as well. Not to mention, I love the fact that there's also queer representation in the book. Both Aleem and Faye, I believe, and Joy for that matter, but I'm not 100% with Joy. Both Aleem and Faye are bisexual. And both have been with both guys and girls. And so for Aleem, what came up was Aleem tried to move on after his wife had passed away. And he had found this man that he really, really cared for, felt that he loved. The reasoning behind why he wasn't with the man was because of his children. They felt a way about the fact that he was choosing to be with a man, or that he fell in love with a man. They felt a way, and to make them happy, he gave up his love. So when Faye came around, one, she was able to understand that experience and liking both, and what that felt like, because I think she and Joy tried something at one point and that didn't work out. But when Faye came around, for Aleem, he was like, you know what? I gave up my love before trying to make my kids happy and I'm not happy. I'm not doing it again. So he just gonna have to be mad. And that's essentially what he said about Nasir. Like, you just gonna have to be mad. Like, you're an adult. You're a grown man. You don't live here. You don't pay these bills. Like, a lot of what you have is because of me, because he's this world-renowned chef. Like, at this point, you're wanting me to give her up simply because it makes you uncomfortable or it makes you unhappy. You felt like, because Nasir essentially felt like he was lesser than, or in some way, shape, or form lacking, because she ended up choosing dad. And Faye was like, it has nothing to do with you. You are two different people. You're making it about you when it's not about you. It never was about you. I said from gate, I didn't want to be with you. So this isn't something new. You like me, and I understand that, but I told you from gate I didn't want to be with you. And so, of course, Nasir, in his all in his emotions, he's like, oh, you came over here to be with my dad. You're just using me to be with my dad. And she's like, dude, I didn't even know he was your dad. Like, you told me on the plane. But neither here nor there. Eventually, Nasir, I don't want to say he comes to understand, but he just gets to a point where I feel like the anger maybe is not there as much. He's just kind of resigned. He's like, we're never going to be friends, but he's just kind of resigned to this is what it is right now. And that's okay. At least he understood that. But Aleem was like, I'm not giving her up. And both Aleem and Faye were like, we're just kind of trying to see where this is right now, like where we're going. So this right here, this is a book that I will say, if you love your romance with a little bit of messy, it's going to give you messy. Check. If you love your romance with, that'll take you on a journey, it's going to give you a journey. Check. But if you're looking for a cookie cutter or Hallmark style love, this isn't it. If you're looking for straightforward, don't fall now, come on now. See, messy. If you're looking for straightforward, no issues, this isn't it. This is going to give you messy. And I think that's the type of romance that's when I realized that was the kind of romance that I probably enjoy more. Because while there are very straightforward love stories out there in real life, I get that. I feel like a lot of people, and I'd be willing to bet the majority of people, go through bumps and bruises. Maybe not this style bump and bruise, but they go through bumps and bruises when they're trying to form relationships or find that love. And I think that that's important, that we see all kinds of representation. So for me, that kept it interesting for me, because I was like, wait, what foolishness is she about to get into now? What is she over here doing? So I love that. And I love the exploration and the journey through grief. Y'all know I'm a therapist. So for me, that kind of, I loved that aspect of it as well. Trying to find yourself, trying to keep going in those difficult and dark times. So I love that about this book. Yeah, so, I mean, have you read it? If you have, leave a comment, let me know. But this was definitely a win for me. I really, really enjoyed this book, and definitely made me want to read more from Akwaeke Emezi. So yeah, let me know if you've read more. Leave it in the comment. Leave it in the comments. I will chat with you in these comments. But until next time, come to the store when you can. Bye-bye.